Hey guys, welcome back to Jess and Reads Romance. I'm Jess, and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in October, summarizing them, giving you my ratings, and let you know just how I enjoyed these. So last time I did a wrap up, I started with the ones that I loved the most, and I ended with the ones that I disliked. And by the end of the video, I was just like, ugh. So I'm going to get out the ones that I did not enjoy for the month of October and end on a strong note with my favorites. The first book that I have is Simmer Down by Sarah Smith. I did get an arc of this and I ended up by DNFing. I normally don't DNF arcs. I usually push through to the bitter end because I did request these by the author because I was interested in exchange for a review, but I was really not enjoying this. I also felt the same way about Faker. Faker was the first book I ever read by Sarah Smith. I think it was her debut, and I just really didn't like it. I ended up by giving that book a 3-star. But Simmer Down was a food truck romance, and I love foodie romances, so I thought I would give her another shot and just see if I would like this one better. And I just don't like her writing style. It's very over the top and dramatic, and I didn't love that. So the heroine is a food truck owner in Hawaii, and it's very competitive and expensive because Hawaii is very small. They're all like islands, and so there's only a limited amount of space that you can like dedicate to, you know, selling your food without having competition right next door. And that's exactly what happens to the heroine. There's this random food truck that just so happens to park in her spot, so she approaches them and she's like, hey, you know, it's kind of etiquette, and whenever I started out I made the same mistakes, but I just want to let you guys know, like, this is our established spot. And the guy that she talks to, the hero, is extremely rude, to the point where I just didn't understand where his rudeness came from. I got about 38% into this book before I DNF'd, and so I did find out a little bit more about him and his background, and he's technically not even the owner of the food truck, it's his brother. And he left like a high-paying job in the States, he's originally from London, to come help his little brother because he was struggling. But I really didn't get his like animosity towards the main heroine. I forgot what her name was, I'm sorry. So every interaction that they had was very theatrical and felt very forced. Like their established enemies, quote unquote, relationship just felt very forced, and I didn't enjoy it. I really didn't. I just thought he was being an asshole. And then he conveniently popped up everywhere. I don't like how they keep running into each other because it felt very manufactured in a way that did not at all contribute to a coherent story. Apparently, besides being a financial genius and a helper at his brother's food truck, basically running it for him, he also volunteers at the vet, and she finds this stray cat, she brings it in, and he's there, and he pops up, and I'm just like, random, when do you have time to do this? I DNF'd at a point where they got on a plane, and they, of all the planes, and they did not discuss that they were going anywhere. They got on the same connecting flight and they were sitting right next to each other. This is too coincidental, this is ridiculous, because it wasn't even the flight from Hawaii to mainland. They had a connecting flight to London, and that's when they sat next to each other on like the big flight. And I'm just like, what is happening? I just didn't enjoy anything about this book, so I DNF'd it, sorry. Next is Sacrifice by Katee Robert, and I just don't mesh well with Katee Robert's writing style. I really tried to like force myself to like her because the booktubers that I follow and bookstagrammers that I follow, who we normally have very similar reading tastes, they love Katee Robert, but for me, I just can't get on board. It's just, her stories don't excite me and I don't really bond with her characters. And I really thought that I would because she's writing like that darker style of romance that I really liked. I heard about Desperate Measures and I'm like, this seems right up my alley, but something about it just did not connect with me. I wasn't feeling the emotions. Felt like their characters could have been established better for me to like understand them as people, but the focus is really on like their sexual relationship, but that's fine. I still want to know them, to be able to care about them, at least to a certain level, to where I can be like, oh, I can see why everyone really loves this. This is an amazing story. It isn't for me. So this is the 4th book that I read by Katee Roberts. I read Desperate Measures, Theirs for the Night, which is a like prequel novella. What else did I read by her? Oh yeah, Your Dad Will Do, and Sacrifice. So now I'm just gonna call it quits and just be like, I've tried, but not for me, so I'm not gonna force myself to continue to read her. Even if sometimes I do feel like I'm having FOMO for missing out on the newest Katee Robert release because everyone's gushing about it, and it makes me want to continue, but it's honestly just a waste of my time if I know I'm not going to like them. Then I have The Power of Hades, which Sacrifice and The Power of Hades were both for the Paranormal Romance Readathon. Again, I just feel like there was no character development. I wasn't interested in the story, which is kind of sad because I really enjoy Persephone and Hades. I just love that myth. And so I was really excited to read a romance between them, but it was missing the romance and I wasn't interested enough to continue with the trilogy to complete their romance. So I did give that one a 2-star as well. Next, I have Heart of Fire by Beck McMaster. This was a book that we read for the podcast, and this was Juliet's pick. She loves Beck McMaster's, and I really did enjoy the world that Beck McMaster was establishing with this dragon romance. It was very interesting, especially the time period that she set it in. And I don't know what it is about like dragon shifter romances. If it's not like a contemporary type of dragon shifter romance, I expect it to be like almost medieval times because, you know, dragons and knights, it just kind of goes together. But this is like late 1800s, almost like the 1900s, and so it was very interesting. But there were some missing plot elements for me that I feel like could have strengthened the story. A little bit more development between the relationship of the hero, the dragon, and the heroine. Especially the heroine, she was like labeled Daughter of Storms, and I wanted to understand more about where that came from. There's a mystery about her mother, and I'm not sure if it continues in the series, and I know that each book in the series is a different couple, so I don't know how much, if any, time is dedicated to the heroine of Heart of Fire's past, and I felt like that was missing. The next 3-star I have is Riley Thorne and the Dead Guy Next Door by Lucy Score. Lucy Score is another one where I feel like a lot of people really love Lucy Score. I'm always just kind of like middle of the road with Lucy Score. I did enjoy this romance, and I'm glad that it was for a Patreon exclusive review, and I might have DNF'd this book if it wasn't for that one, but I did push through and I did enjoy it. Riley Thorne is the heroine and she is psychic, but the thing is she's like mid-30s and she does not want her psychic ability. She's actually spent the majority of her life like kind of ignoring it, but her family's also psychic. But what bothered me about this was she was unaware of a lot of her abilities. She's having visions of the future, but then she's telling herself like, oh, that was like the bad cabbage that my mom cooked last night or whatever. It's a hallucination. And then she gets proof that it's actually real because what she saw in the future came to pass, and she's like, oh my God, wait, so my visions are real? And I'm like, I find that very hard to believe that she's 35 and she's been having these visions and psychic abilities for that long, and she's just now discovering that her visions like are true. This is a fake relationship romance, so there's this private investigator that she meets, and at first she thinks he's the bad guy, but then they kind of team up. It is very quirky and fun and cute, and it kind of feels like Charlie Davidson, but like not, because I like Charlie Davidson like a lot. But it probably is one of my favorites that I've read by Lucy Score, so I am glad that I read that one. Then we have The Roommate by Rosie Danan. Unfortunately, I didn't love this as much as everyone else seemed to love it. I had a problem with the heroine and the way that she viewed herself as like undesirable. She incorporated lots of like big vocabulary words, and I think it was Rosie Danan trying to establish that the heroine comes from a background of very wealthy family, and that's contrasting with the hero who is a porn star. He kind of struggles with like his self-worth, not relating to porn, but just like with what he thinks he's worth, like with contracts and everything. Her naivety felt a little misplaced because she is a PhD, and so she's been in college for like the majority of her life. And apparently she's gone to like college parties, but she is so embarrassed by like the sight of a shirtless man. Like that's how innocent feeling she is, and it just felt very weird to have like a 27-year-old who really wasn't sheltered. She was out in the world experiencing things, but she felt sheltered, and it was very strange. And I also felt like the conflict of why the hero and the heroine weren't together felt a little bit forced. And she was all like, oh, this won't work. And then at the end, all of a sudden, she has this random epiphany. And I'm like, I don't even know what triggered it. Like, oh, no, I can be with him now. I'm like, but why? Also, she has a PhD in art history. She goes to California with like no job lined up at all. Falls into an unrelated job because her aunt lives there and gives her a job that she's not qualified for. And I was just like, what is this? Why even give her a degree in art history, a doctorate no less, and do nothing for it? It was just very weird. I just didn't understand. But I really did enjoy the hero. Josh was cool. Liked him. Very interested in Naomi. Naomi? I think that's her name. Very interested in her book. I think she's the next book that Rosie Danan's going to write, so I will be reading that one. Next is Loathe Thy Neighbor, which I also did for this like romance themed reading vlog. Not a vlog. I just reviewed them. But Loathe Thy Neighbor by Tegan Hunter. I liked it. Some of the humor was a little bit too much. I wanted a little bit more real conversation. I like Tegan Hunter's stories, and I think they're light and fun. but sometimes the humor, I'm just over it and I will like skim if they're having like a pointless bantery conversation that has like nothing, doesn't like serve the plot or anything. And I feel like it happens very often, so I'm like fine with skipping it. I'm not gonna miss anything. And if I keep skipping scenes like that, then there's just something missing in the book for me. Then we have On a Tuesday by Whitney G. This is a second chance romance, and I felt like the story was very compelling, but I didn't like how much we had to switch from the past and the present. It's like we would get a scene from the past and then we get a scene from the present. And so the conflict of why they're not together in the present was like kept for like a big reveal at the end. And I was very worried because that's almost like, it feels like it's being hyped up, like this big thing happened to them and they're no longer together. Whenever it's hyped that much, I'm always afraid that the reason they're no longer together is going to be stupid. I didn't feel like it was stupid, but it was something that should have been questioned earlier. I don't know. So it was okay. I wish there was more present day interaction between the hero and the heroine, because we do spend a lot of time with the hero in the past when they were in college, the first time that they met, convincing the heroine to be with him. And I felt like it was almost a waste because he did have to work so hard in the past to be with her in the first place, but like not that much work was done in the present, and they had not seen each other for like 7 years, and people change, and I feel like they needed more time to get to know each other. Then we have Billy and the Russian Beast. This was by Theodore Taylor. It was fine. It was like a quick novella length, smutty kind of read. The hero is blackmailing the heroine basically to be with him, but she's immediately attracted to him. So it like, you know, travels that fine line, very quick, fast relationship. Of course, there's a conflict at the end, and I was just like, it made me not like the hero in the end. So I only gave that one 3 stars, but it was compelling. I was interested while I was reading it until like that last bit. I was just like, you did what? I don't know if I could forgive that. Next is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. This was the first book that I've ever read by Olivia Dade. It was an arc, and I did enjoy a lot about this book. I like the relationship between the hero and the heroine. So they both are writing fan fiction secretly, and he's actually acting in the series that the fan fiction that they're writing is based on. So basically he's acting in a Game of Thrones-esque show, and I think it's really funny how Olivia Dade kind of threw shade about how Game of Thrones ended the TV series. So he's acting, he's the main character in that TV show, but he's secretly writing fan fiction about like how he wished the show would play out and has more involvement in the books that the show is based on. And then she also secretly writes fan fiction. It just so happens to be his beta reader, and she has no idea that she's beta reading for this actor because they all have pen names, so they don't know each other's real name. So he finds out really quickly the relationship between her real name and her pen name, but it keeps his secret for reasons, and he holds on to that secret for a very long time. And I feel like there was ample opportunity for him to confess, and his reasons for not telling her were kind of stupid. Then we have Snapped by Alexa Martin. I think I originally rated this 4 stars, but 3.5. There was some misses, especially with the heroine. I did not like how she dealt with this conflict because she is part of the PR management team of this NFL. Oh my God, what is their team name? The Mustangs. So she is tapped to do like some damage control when the hero kneels during the national anthem. Now she's biracial. She was married. She was raised by a white father. Her mother died whenever she was like a baby, so she didn't even know her. And it was very weird how resistant she was to like racial tensions, how much she excused the team owner and how he was like obviously in the wrong, and she was just like, oh no, he's fine, until the very end when she decides to open her eyes. Like she just decides like, oh wait, now I see it. And it felt very too little too late. Didn't understand why it took her that long to realize that she was working for a very racist and awful individual. And I just felt bad for the hero because the hero was just like, why can't you see this? I did think the hero was very, very sweet, but there's a lot of emphasis on this like Lady Mustang gang of wives, wags. I wish we could have spent a little bit more time with the hero and the heroine getting to know each other and less time on like Elliot being like taken into the fold of the Lady Mustang gang. And now for the 4 stars. Forbidden Attraction was a random KU read that I decided to pick up because I was feeling all of the wolf shifter feels. I was just so into it because it's October, and I'm so glad that I picked it up. I really, really love it. I think it's a different take on like wolf shifters because the hero is actually not like a werewolf. He shifts into like more of a dog type of dog. But there are werewolves in this world, and I'm very interested in how this overarching plot is going to play out. So I am going to be continuing with the series, and I enjoyed the banter in this book. Next is Famine, which I'm so excited that the 3rd book in the 4 Horsemen series satisfied me in a way that War did not. It felt very similar to Pestilence, which I really liked. There was only a part in the middle that the pacing was pretty slow, and I was like, okay, let's get on with it. Let's move past this part that I feel like we're rehashing over and over and over again, and we're not making progress. But the ending of Famine, oh my gosh, it teases the last book, Death's book. Oh my god. I'm wondering if she's gonna call the 4th book, and I don't know if she's already named it, titled it Death or Thanatos, because he does kind of show up toward the end. I'm not going to spoil anything, but obviously once one horseman kind of like settles down, the next one like rises up to do his part. Very exciting ending to a book, and I was just like, what? I cannot wait for the 4th one. And then we have The Roommate by Brandy Bush. Now this is not a romance. Now this isn't a romance, this is erotica. And there's no real HEA, but it was hot and I enjoyed it, and it was something different. It's not really like a polyamorous relationship since there's no like HEA. They don't end up together. It's like a married couple and the heroine. She's just really attracted to them, and it's basically like the build up to them actually being together like that one time. So it was a fun, enjoyable read. I really did like it. Oh, I missed Single Dad Seeks Juliet by Max Monroe. This is something that I read early on in October. It's really funny because I do quick reviews on Instagram, but for this month I was very behind. I just find talking about a book, I like that better than typing about a book, which is why I never had a blog, because I would not be consistent at all. But I need to go write these reviews because all year I have been writing reviews for every single book that I have read, and I cannot break that trend. It's almost the end of the year. I can't like stop now. It's ridiculous. So anyway, Single Dad Seeks Juliet by Max Monroe. I did give that one 3.5 stars. The heroine is a writer for a newspaper, and she's been given this assignment that she really doesn't want. There's a local like bachelor auction type of thing that's happening, and this man was selected named Jake, and she has to go like inform him, you've been selected. But the problem is Jake's daughter secretly signed him up, because she's about to leave for college and she wants her dad to be happy and in a relationship. So she's like, you know, I'm doing him a favor. So he is obviously like, no, I did not sign up for this. And Holly's just kind of like, okay, I understand. And then he's kind of intrigued by Holly herself. They spend a lot of time before the bachelor auction even starts up. And I think that that was such a smart decision because you get to see them interact a lot with without like interruptions from other women. Their relationship is firmly established before the bachelor contest starts to play out. I had a couple issues, and one of them was that almost every single one of the bachelor contestants, like the girls that were selected, they were written in a way that the reader like automatically like did not like them. And I think I would have enjoyed it if Holly had a little bit more competition, like these really nice women that potentially could be really great girlfriends for Jake. It felt like the other women could have been more than just obsessed with Instagram and only in it for like, oh, I'll get a lot of publicity, or just very vapid and empty-headed characters. I just wanted more for them. Did I really only have 2 4 stars? I did. Sorry if I moved, my camera died because I can't stop talking. So I had more 5 stars than 4 stars, but not that many. Most of my reads this month were 3-star reads. So Choosing Theo was one of the first books that I read for October, and I loved it. This is an alien romance, and I really like the society that is built around this planet. The men are actually educated on being a good husband. Like that's part of their curriculum when they're like 17 and 18. They have like home ec classes, but also like massage classes and female anatomy, and it's just really cool, and I really liked it, and I like the world, and I want to read the second book in the series. It was just a really sweet romance that kind of reminded me of Ice Planet Barbarians if the ship had crash landed on a more advanced planet instead of an ice planet with like barbarian like creatures on it. So this alien race is advanced. And then I picked up Go Deep by Rilzy Adams because Mina Reeves was like gushing about this one. And this is one of the novellas that I probably would recommend to like everyone who thinks novellas can't establish like a really deep emotional connection between characters just because it's like a very short time period that you have to establish all that. But this book has it all. It's a friends to lovers romance. It is hot, it is steamy, it is emotional, and I loved every single bit of it. This is the first book by Rilzy Adams that I've ever read, and let me tell you, I am like all up into her backlist. I'm ready to read the next one and the next one. So I have those loaded up on my Kindle, ready to go, because I'm just like, I need more of her books. I really enjoyed it. Also, Friends to Lovers is becoming one of my favorite tropes in romance. It's surpassing enemies to lovers. I'm just like I've gorged so much on enemies to lovers that sometimes the story is starting to feel repetitive, and I'm gravitating more towards Friends to Lovers and rating them higher. It's just what I'm into right now. And the last one, and my favorite book that I read in October, was Wolfsong by TJ Klune. I love this world. Green Creek is a series that I know is going to be like in my favorite series of all time. I'm actually about to finish the third book in the series, and I think the third book is my favorite so far. Oh god, it's just so good. Wolfsong is a werewolf romance. It's not YA. There is a portion of the book that starts off when the characters are very young. Ox, the main character who you get the whole story from his point of view, is human. You're first introduced to him when he is 12 years old. And then lots of things start changing when this family called the Bennetts moves back to town. They used to live there like a long time ago before Ox was born, or moved there with his mom and his dad. But the Bennetts are very interesting creatures, and Joe, their youngest son, takes a liking to Ox. They do have 6 years between them. Feels like a lot whenever they're young, but oh my god, the friendship that Ox and Joe, look, listen, I just said that Friends to Lovers was like my favorite, and this is like another perfect example. The depth of their relationship is astounding, beautiful, romantic. My heart was just aching. The sweetest scenes that were included. It is emotional, sad at sometimes, but not too sad, not too angsty. It was just so beautiful, and I love the family. The Bennetts are like so amazing, and I'm just so glad that after seeing this book over and over again that I'm like, okay, well finally I'm gonna check out and see what this is about. And it's beautiful. I don't want to hype it up too much, but I cannot hide my love for this series, and I hope that if you pick up Wolfsong that you will like it as much as I do. So that's all the books that I've read in October. I'm really excited for my November reads. They're gonna be all books that I already own, including the Bridgertons, and I will be doing a review for each Bridgerton book during the month of November and December leading up to the Bridgertons Netflix series. I'll be posting those on Saturdays because that's whenever discussion is going to happen within the reader group that I'm a part of. I'm doing the Binging Bridgerton readathon. So each week is dedicated to a book. On Wednesdays, I think there's so many chapters that we're allowed to discuss, and then on Saturdays, one of the hosts is going to host a live show, I believe. So I'm really excited about that. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure that you subscribe to be notified on any future videos that I do. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, life's better with a little HEA. Bye guys.